Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Another day out here at Giga Texas. It's beautiful to fly and a lot of great things to see. There's just about three things I want to talk about briefly in the intro before we get to fly. First, yesterday was the first SpaceX financial results meeting. I got a chance to be on Herbert Ong's show and do some live streaming, talking about what to expect, listening to the actual briefing and meeting, and then having a post discussion. And there was a lot of information that was thrown at us. Of course, being the first one, didn't really know what to expect. But generally speaking, SpaceX kind of breaks their company into three main parts that they think about. One is connectivity, that would be Starlink, and also coming up Starlink Mobile, and that will be obviously for internet and probably providing a cell service and being a competitor in that arena in 2027 and moving forward. The next is launch. Of course, that's the Falcon 9 that is going on right now and has been extremely successful, but it's in the process of being replaced with Starship. And we got some great updates about the Starship program. They are very confident with it. They said that after the last several flights, and particularly the data that they got from Flight 13, is that they believe that the heat shield is mostly solved. There will still be some iteration, of course, going on, but they don't see that as an impediment to rapid reusability. And their aspirations for Starship are quite strong, and it's warranted because most of the plans for SpaceX from now on are going to be relying on Starship being operational. Now, we heard Flight 14 will be probably at the end of this month. They are going to send V3 satellites into orbit for the very first time to start joining that operational fleet. And they do think that they're going to try to do the ship catch on Flight 14, but not the booster. But they want to get both the ship and the booster by the end of the year. And the last major section of the company is AI. Of course, that is with the data centers. Also with basically renting out a lot of their compute. They mentioned that only about 10% of their overall compute that they have and what they have projected is dedicated to in-house use. So 90% is available to be rented out, leased, or provided as a service, and becoming an amazingly huge part of their income stream. So a lot more that came out of that meeting, and a lot to look forward to for SpaceX. Now, here at the site, two things that I want to talk about of interest for Tesla and Giga Texas. One, I did notice that there was a lot more Cybertrucks in the outbound lot today. They were in various different parts of the outbound lot, on the west side in large groups with other vehicles, over on the east side in groups more like just generally with the Cybertrucks, and then more arriving at the sorting lanes going through the end of line. So I'd say probably around maybe 50 to 75, maybe a little bit more Cybertrucks were in the outbound lot today, which is outstanding. Interestingly enough, Cybercab production seems to be at a standstill for the moment. Didn't really see very many new ones out at the outbound lot, but they were out at the test track doing more testing. So interesting developments to be watching on that for sure. And to wrap up the pre-flight introduction, over at the crash testing facility, we get a chance to see kind of the graveyard for Cybercabs. Now, all of these look like they've been disassembled to some degree. Perhaps some of them have had crash testing, but these are all the old original engineering versions that had the gold wrap on them. So these are all just being dispensed with because they are no longer needed. And they have this large grouping over on the north part of the crash test facility. So quite interesting to see, and just great that they gave their service for the greater good and to make sure that we're all ready for the Cybercabs, and now their time has come to an end. So speaking of which, why don't we end the intro? Let's get in the drone, fly around, and see what Giga Texas looks like here today.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. right, well, good morning here at Giga Texas on the far west side. We're approaching in towards the test track. There's a lot of information, a lot of things to see here in the video today. Now, at the bottom of the screen is this storage location for some of these transport trucks. You see some covered truck as well. And this was moved from the north side by Tesla Road for additional construction that is underway. Now, at the testing office and operations section, you can see several Cybercabs parked, but many more are out on the track already today doing their testing. You can see that the cones are around parts of the track, and they're still waiting for them to finish up the infield part of the track as well as far as construction. But here's a good view of many of the Cybercabs coming around the corner directly at the drone. And you can tell that there are, at least in most of them, if not all of them, Tesla employees doing some of the driving, or at least supervising what the cars are doing either way. But they're mostly using the large oval today, as you can tell, and they're doing a little bit of stopping and in the lanes, pulling over, and then the rest of them are kind of just driving around at different speeds. This is a good view here by the cones where the stop sign is and how they are testing the vehicles being able to do this and then continuing on with their drive. Many more continuing around the big oval. I like this view also because it's all the way back to the main factory and gives you a pretty good idea of where exactly we are located. As I bring the drone back in, we see one of the Cybertrucks driving around. They've been doing some of the work here with this lane, finishing up, putting in almost like this cobblestone section. They have multiple different road types here as part of their training and testing. And it looks like two of the three sections are now completed. As we fly over this sort of dirt patch, I'll zoom back in, see some more of that stop and go testing that is underway, and more vehicles coming around the track corner. A good view here of that testing operations center. I'm going to leave the zoom in. We'll fly up over the power lines while we focus in on this section. Just a couple of other things that are note that what I'm pointing out is one, not only just the number of the Cybercabs here, but also those two tents. One of them has that single post lift. Looks like they may be doing some sort of maintenance or inspection on a couple of those Cybercabs. And then there's another employee getting into one on the bottom left and getting ready to go out possibly for more of the driving training. And of course, a look back at the track with all of the activity that is underway. So plenty to see as far as the testing of the Cybercabs. Not a lot of production today, which we'll see a little bit later in the video. Also, while I'm here, I wanted to show you what is going on with all of these materials that are being stored here. Some of them are being unwrapped. There's even a white Cybertruck at the bottom near one of these large items that has the silver wrapping partially removed. The other thing is that the supercharger workshop is really building a lot of these superchargers. They're using some of those folding unit bases. And I've also seen some of these being installed down at New Braunfels, south of Giga Texas, as they expand out another section of the Buc-ee's gas station in New Braunfels with more superchargers, and I am very confident that they're coming from this facility. No real change on all of these transformers today. Good view of all of the equipment and materials that are being stockpiled here on the north end. A lot of the concrete vault items, in addition to some of the pipes and some other items all throughout this section. But what I really wanted to show you today is pay attention to the lot on the left with a lot of the Cybertrucks, and then here along the west side of the number of Cybertrucks. Now, I mentioned this in the intro, and after I shot that intro, I got some news that the judge has ruled in the case for Tesla with the complaint with Angstrom Automotive. They're the ones that have some of the tooling and parts for a Cybertruck. And Tesla had put that emergency request in, and the judge has sided with Tesla. They've allowed them to go into the facility from Angstrom Automotive, get all of their tooling, their equipment, and the parts. And based on all of that and what I'm seeing here, is it looks like maybe Cybertruck production is now coming back up to speed. As I mentioned, you can see them all over the lot today, many in here in the superchargers as well. And as we kind of work our way back towards this larger lot that you see on the top of the screen, we'll see even more, and also at the direct delivery center. I wanted to just stop here and just show you these are some of the newer Cybercabs on this side, but we've also noticed that there's not a lot in the outbound lot here today. Now at the direct delivery center, we see Cybertrucks underneath the canvas tops. As I pull away, all of these Cybertrucks that you see in and amongst the rest of the vehicles are for direct delivery. And as you can tell, there's several lines of Cybertrucks already starting to materialize here. And maybe this is inconsistent with what we have been seeing with very many people who have orders all of a sudden getting notifications that their VIN is assigned. The mega chargers still don't see any of the the Tesla semis here, but the mega chargers themselves look like they may be ready to go. As I continue to maneuver here on the north end of the end of line, you can see the Cybercab display under the Tesla letters is there. Also many more of the Cybertrucks in the lane. And as I was flying, I saw even more Cybertrucks driving onto that lane, joining up with all of the Model Ys and getting ready to go inside end of line for that final processing. So let's go ahead and maneuver, cross over the highway, and we'll start the narration up on the other side once again. You can see Cybercabs dropping off employees and picking them up. There'll be another one arriving here momentarily from the right, and that continues to happen all around Giga Texas. As I maneuver around the flagpoles, wanted to try to get in and see some of the Model Ys that were exiting the factory. Fortunately, at the moment that I brought the drone by, they were not here. But if you look at the top right of the screen, you'll see that Cybercab again just did that simulated drop-off or pickup and is headed towards us along this route. And they continue to do that over and over again. It's very common to see that if you were here on the side of the road watching what's going on at the west side of the factory. As I maneuvered over towards the recycling center of the cans for the 4680s, this is what it looks like today. The recycling has just taken place, and they just replaced the filled bin with another empty one. And those are taken off site for recycling, and it may indicate just some of the work that's going on with the 4680s. I'm going to fly over the roof looking to the east. You can see that large section for the Advanced Technology Chip Fab with all the construction. Of course, the parking lot is very busy, and we'll get more views of all of that here momentarily, but I wanted to first start at the melt center and the outside of the casting machine section. I'll zoom in. A lot of the casting still along the northeast and the east side. Many of them are Cybertrucks, some of them are Cybercabs, and then the ones here are the Model Ys. As I continue to pan the drone here, I wanted to show you this large opening. Not only do they have the opening in the walls, but they are now working on this apron. They've reconfigured some of the loading docks into this new kind of structure. You can see that they're putting in rebar around where they're going to be pouring the concrete, and how this section has been changed. On the bottom left, and I'll kind of maneuver the drone here, you can see sections of the concrete have been cut out, and this all may be related to a permit that had to do with fire hydrants, in addition to the work that they're doing on the walls for access into the factory. We do see some remnants of crates that have been unpacked, more equipment being put inside the factory, and I've been hearing that we'll probably be expecting to see some other equipment in the next couple of months coming in to help further bolster the production of the Cybercabs. Here at the exit point of the factory for Cybercabs, we see three new ones. One of the older ones with the wrap, the color difference is pretty obvious here, but otherwise, as I mentioned, I don't really see much as far as Cybercab production at this moment in time. Pulling back, this material staging yard shows more of that equipment, some of it in the silver wrap, ready to go into the body in white or the east side of the factory as well. The lined pond has, as we've talked about before, had the liner removed, the drains removed, the pump houses up on the shoulder on the right-hand side of the screen, and the fence is still here. And I don't know what the plan is for this as they reconfigure whatever they're going to be using this part for. As I zoom back out, a good view of the southeast corner, the cooling system for Cortex 1, and I'm going to point over the Colorado River, zoom in and show you some of the work that's being done just on the bank of the Colorado River. Now, this is not part of Giga Texas. This is a project for most likely Austin Power, with some of the pipes being put in. Maybe also related to some of the other water systems that have been added in for the waste management system, that treatment facility behind the drone. And it's just interesting to see how much work is continuing to be done around the Colorado River. As I fly towards the east side, there's a few things to talk about here. One of which is just how the outfall channel continues to be developed here on the bottom right of the screen. And it looks like they're going to have to do some additional work to allow more drainage once that is completed. We can also see how this works its way underneath River Road towards this infall channel, I suppose, with the forms, some of the concrete being put in. As I zoom in, a better shot of this, you can also tell that the perimeter walls still need to be finished to be able to put the liner in. They are working on the bank on the upper left, and as I pan the drone up, you'll be able to see the work that they're doing on the interior part of the pond. And I think they're continuing to prepare all of this so that they can get a liner in at some point. And a great view with this zoom in of all the activity. And I'll continue to fly along this west side looking to the east for a better view of how this pond is coming together and where it is located in relation to the recycle center and some of the workshops which are now starting to be dismantled. Before we get there, I want to show you the equipment for what I think is going to be a concrete batch plant in this section. They're doing some excavation work going up over towards the berm and the Robotic Avenue Road. This looks like to be electrical conduit. Most likely it'll connect into the work that we see on the left-hand side of the screen. This may be what they're going to be using for power for that batch plant. Another view here of the materials staging yard. Also, this new structure that is being erected right now. Looks like they have most of the wall decking in. They have a small window. And of course, the open doorway here on the side closest to the drone. They still have some work to do to finish up the roof. I'm not sure what this is for, but it is a new structure and interesting to see what is going on here. So I'm going to continue to maneuver the drone going from the west, panning across the south, across where we see that batch plant, the recycle center, and some of the workshops, and some of the part of the warehouse on wheels below the drone. What I wanted to show you here, just past the recycle center and the weigh station that is happening on the right with that truck, is that these workshops that have been responsible for fabricating much of the pipes and manifolds that have been used for construction around the site, including Cortex 2, appear to be in the process of being dismantled. One of them is almost completely gone. The other two have been emptied out. And then the larger of them looks like it is also being prepared for dismantling. I do believe that all of this, including the recycle center, will eventually need to be relocated so that they can continue the construction of the advanced technology chip fab, which is in view here with that large rectangular section. A lot of the geopiers at work, and also some of the steel items that we can see at the bottom next to River Road, some additional excavation work, and the rebar that is being put together into those cages that will eventually be footings for that advanced technology chip fab facility. A nice view here across the site back to the main factory as well. You still see that pavilion in the trees on the left-hand side of the screen, and some of the pipe segments that have been stored here. So I bring the drone down lower. I just wanted to take a look at this excavation work that is underway, and we see on the right that rectangular section with some I don't know, almost looks like plastic and gravel. They're doing some more work here. It may be to allow for more of the steel to be stored here, and hopefully we'll see that being used in the main factory at some point. At the foundation itself, this is a close-in kind of pan of all of the work that's being done with those geopiers. and they are very active with creating them. There are some in the middle that are being reinforced with grout or that concrete with those two yellow pump trucks. Off to the right is more of those rebar cages that are being fabricated. As you can tell, they are quite large, much larger than the footing rebar cages that we see up at the Optimus factory. Why this is the case, I'm not really sure, but with the pump trucks reinforcing the piers plus these large cages, it may suggest that this is a pretty heavily loaded foundation, or at least it will be. As far as its overall shape, hard to tell for sure if they're going to continue to expand it with the beveled edges or not, but it'll be something I watch for. Also, there's a recent permit that was just filed that has redesignated this entire section as the East Support Facility. This matches up with many of the other similarly titled facilities, such as the Central Campus Support Facility directly ahead with Cortex 2, the die shop, and the battery cathode plant on the right. Speaking of Cortex 2, there is a lot of changes, a lot of developments here today, so we'll kind of fly around and spend some time looking. First of all, at the bottom of the screen, we can see some of those temporary coolers, also the tool chest, and a new lined plastic workshop. We see all of these mega packs on the left, a similar situation here on the right being put together, and those will be installed. It seems to be part of perhaps helping with the cooling system to make sure that it has plenty of power so that they don't have a problem keeping the data center nice and cool and fully operational. As we kind of maneuver here just to the north of all of the workshops, the green trench boxes have been installed. A lot more trench work is being done right now. Plus, you can see many of the pipes that have been installed. Based on the number of trench boxes and the size of this site, plus all of the geopiers that have been completed, I expect to see a lot of that throughout this entire section. The bottom of the screen is those circular screw-type piers that are going to be for water tanks, and all of this will come together as a new facility to help with the water condensation coming out of the cooling systems and have that as recycling. Now on the left, we see some of the mega packs in that workshop. Those are going to be the ones that are put on by the phase 2 of the cooling system. But on the west side, the big news is that more of the mega packs have arrived and they are starting to install them. On the center bottom of the screen, we can tell that they are preparing for the platform and the screw type piers for more of the mega packs. We can see with a zoom in those beams that have been put onto the screw type piers where they're mounting the megapacks. And here is a good sense of scale with the workers on top of a megapack as they are taking the straps off as it has been put into place. A truck is bringing another one in and several more are arriving on site. This is addition to the ones that have already been delivered over by the battery cathode plant, which we will see a little bit later. But the speed of assembling all of these megapacks on this west side is pretty impressive, but we've been expecting this for some time. Now, as I continue to move back over towards the Cortex 2, kind of just give you a different perspective of the installation of all of these mega packs. Once all of this is done, Cortex 2 should have somewhere around 260 fully installed mega packs. That is in addition to, on the upper right, you can see the other two megapack installations, and that's another 140. So Giga Texas as a combined site should have around 400 megapacks once everything is fully assembled. I'm coming back to this storage yard because much of this equipment is what's being used for the megapacks and also Cortex 2. We can see that there are now 9 more of these green transformers that have been recently delivered. I believe that these may be going onto that platform on that northwest corner of Cortex 2 where they're adding in the last of the supports and getting ready for that platform so that they can complete this entire west side with the mega packs. And I'll bring the drone up to a little higher altitude just as a great way of seeing the entire Cortex 2 and everything that we just we looked at a lower altitude, but all bringing it together. So I'm going to pass by on the south side of the die shop and the battery cathode plant and bring the drone down here. There's some deliveries of steel on the bottom of the screen. Those are destined for the Optimus factory on the far north. Here at the crash test dummy facility, it looks like they're still working to finish that structure. And of course, many vehicles along the side of the crash test facility itself. Some of them are Model Ys. It looks like some of them may be Model YLs and some Cybercabs. As I zoom in, this is a good view of that temporary platform and some of these workshops. Also some of the activity here on the north end of the crash test facility, including one of the refreshed semis. It's been here for a while doing a bunch of testing. Looks like they're also working on a Cybercab by the flying floor structure at the bottom of the screen. Now, one other interesting development here by the crash test facility is on the north end. Right here, this is the Cybercab graveyard is what I've been calling it. This is many of the old engineering Cybercabs. These are the ones that had the the gold wrap on them. They were not the current final production versions. These were used for testing. Looks like some of these have been used for potentially crash testing, some disassembly as well. And just an overall view of what it looks like at end of life for some of these Cybercabs. These were, of course, used for all of the initial testing and preparation for production, and their usefulness has now come to an end. I'll give you a zoom in, good view of some of the structure and how some of the castings on that back end of the Cybercab in the middle that has no hatch, and kind of a good idea of how those two castings on the back come together with some stamped steel to make that pretty incredibly strong rear section of the Cybercabs. Kind of zoom back away and give an idea of where we are located with that crash testing facility. I'll kind of pirouette around, show you the megapacks here that have been here for a while. Some new ones have been delivered on the trailer on the bottom of the screen, and these are also going to be used on that west side of Cortex 2. Now I'm going to fly up to the northeast of the battery cathode plant to this section that has been pretty much completely reclaimed, flattened out, graded, and put some gravel on it for some of the workshops. Now I think that some of these workshops that we are seeing here are the replacements for the ones that are being disassembled and relocated from that to east side for the advanced technology chip fab. We can see more of the workshops at the bottom of the screen getting prepared to have their roof hoops put on, and then they will have the kind of canvas tops similar to what we see here at the bottom of the screen. A lot more steel has been brought to this part of the site as well. And in Lone Tree Field, it's a good view of that staging yard with all the steel at the north. Much of it, or at least half of it's been moved over to the factory, which you can see at the top of the screen. And then here is that northwest trailer complex with some additional materials being stored nearby. Now I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. I wanted to give a good overall view here of the site and how the foundation is coming together for the Optimus factory. And I'll kind of fly along at this altitude from the south to the north along the east side, looking to the west of how this factory is coming together, the size of the foundation, and the amount of steel that is yet to be assembled into this structure. As I maneuver here at this higher altitude, we'll get a chance to see its orientation and its location relative to the main factory in the background. This one is going to be smaller than the main factory, but it's going to be a substantial portion of the percentage of the total volume for production space. And so far, it still seems to be 4 levels across this entire slab, at least with what we can see with the steel assembly. Coming into view just to the south of where all of these trailers are located and containers, we can see the perimeter grade beam for the north end is getting a little bit more formwork. A lot of it has been poured with concrete, and it looks like they are preparing work nearby that perimeter grade beam for more assembly. I zoom in here to show you what that structure looks like at a closer view. All 4 of the floors clearly visible. Floor decking installed, roof decking is installed, and more of the steel here on the bottom of the screen. They now have 8 of these very large cranes at work. It gives you an idea of how quickly they intend to be assembling this structure. And once they get the north structure completed up to the perimeter grade beam, then they will work on the east side and proceed from the north to the south on the building, while at the same time they continue to do assembly on the south with the other cranes. And also a good view of all the materials that are stored here along this roadway. And another development is a temporary loading dock. A platform has been added in, plus the construction stairs. There's a similar one on the east side. This is to allow them to start bringing materials and eventually equipment to that fourth floor of the structure. And eventually they'll probably have one for the third and second floor as well. As I get around to the south side, looking to the north, a good look at how the structure is coming together from this vantage point. Cranes are already bringing in more of the beams, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. And it looks like mostly on the right-hand side of the screen is the longest part of the building, and it's progressing slightly faster than on the left-hand side of the screen. Good look at many of the footings that are still under construction here in the middle part of the site, and at the south end is where the geopiers are hard at work to put all those piers in for the footings. And near where I think the south perimeter grade beam will be, you can kind of see the shape with that gravel starting to materialize. As I continue to pull away, you can tell this dirt section on the bottom right, how they've reclaimed at least this part of this tree belt, and also where the hills and valleys are. And the rest to the north is still the way it used to be. This is a closer view of the south end of where the foundation will be built, and of course the steel onto the footings, and a nice look at this side of the building, which is so far the longest side of the building at this time. I'm going to bring the drone up just for one more view across this entire site of how it is coming together, and this entire south end, where also some additional earth work is going to continue to reclaim this part of the site. So that'll be it for today's flight as we work our way back over the Central Support Facility to the newly designated East Support Facility on the left-hand side of the screen, and looking back at the main factory. I hope that you enjoyed this video, everything we were able to see, and the update with the Cybertruck production.